You wander into the Mariposa military base and discover a group of super mutants. They are larger and stronger than any human you have ever seen before, and it makes you wonder, what could have caused these? Hello and welcome to Anatomy of Fiction. Today we will be discussing the super mutants from the first Fallout game, so the West Coast strain of super mutants. Before we get started, let me know in the comment section who your favourite super mutant is. So what are the origins of the super mutants? Well, super mutants were not the invention of the Master. They actually predate him. The super mutants were actually from experiments at WestTech. This was transferred to the Mariposa military base on January 7th, 2077, and was led by two people, Leon von Felden and Robert Anderson. This is when they would prepare vats of the forced evolutionary virus. This would be for further testing and development of the viral technology, and also for future human testing. This virus had already been tested on animals with a close to 100% success rate. These lab animals had an about 60% increase in size and a 200% increase in intelligence. This led to the creation of the strain 2 of forced evolutionary virus. This was the strain that was able to create the super soldiers that would become the super mutants. These so-called super soldiers had resistance to combat damage, aging, and disease, with minimal loss of intelligence. They had superior physical prowess, however, they were infertile. After the bombs dropped on October 23rd, 2077, several things would occur. First, the WestTech research facility was hit by one of the warheads. This led to the tanks of the forced evolutionary virus on levels 4 and 5 breaking open. The virus released into the atmosphere and would spread. With the virus meeting the radiation, it would mutate. Many of the animals and humans of the waste would go on to encounter the mutated version of this virus, leading to the encounters in the waste. Secondly, there was the Mariposa military base. The Mariposa military base was not hit by a warhead. There, the scientists and the soldiers were actually protected from both the uncontaminated and the contaminated forced evolutionary virus and the radiation of the wasteland. Skipping forward to 2102, this is when the Master would become an entity. He would experiment and attempt to create his own line of super mutants. With the several attempts and failures, he would consume anything he considered to be unsuccessful. But this would not be the end of super mutants. In 2103, radiation would be discovered as a problem. With this discovery, the Master was able to select subjects more carefully, leading to more successes when it came to making super mutants. So this is where they began. Let's learn a little bit more about the virus that causes the super mutants. The forced evolutionary virus was originally a pre-war creation. This virus is a variant of the megavirus family, which are the largest viruses known to man. These viruses have the ability to cut up DNA, which is part of their defense system. In the Fallout universe, this virus was edited so it could theoretically restore a person's defective DNA and better them. The response to the forced evolutionary virus in part depends on how someone was exposed and the amount they were exposed to, as the virus does not replicate within a host's body, which is very abnormal for a virus. So for those with only small amounts that they were exposed to, they may only have minimal effects, potentially some repairs to defective genes, or no visible effects. For those who are exposed to larger amounts or overdoses of the virus, they may become super mutants if they were not heavily radiated. For those who spent even longer, say about a week in the virus vat, which is how long the Master spent in the virus vat, they may end up looking similar to him, or even passing away. What would the virus be affecting to potentially cause some of the well-known features of the super mutants? If we look at other vertebrates, such as white mice, they grew larger, had increases in muscle tissues, and increased intelligence. Inside of the brain, the limbic system and frontal cortex were primarily affected. However, they were more aggressive. The limbic system is responsible for behaviors, motivations, hormones, and emotions. So this would explain the increased aggression from the super mutants. The limbic system also contains the hypothalamus, which produces a hormone that influences testosterone production. With increased testosterone, there is an increase in the amount of muscle. The frontal cortex contains personality, speech and language, and many other important processes. For the regular super mutant, if there was damage to this, it may take them from a kind, well-mannered and well-adjusted person to rude and with little ability to form a sentence. This idea is not exactly unheard of, considering this has happened before. Well, sort of. They didn't exactly become a super mutant. What I am talking about is Phineas Gage. He was a polite young man who worked on the railroads, who in 1848 survived a railroad spike going through his frontal lobe. Because of this, he lost an eye and his personality changed. He became rude and lost all impulse control. This highlights that the super mutants who would be having brain injuries from the transformation process would be more likely to be aggressive, rude, and unable to control impulses, which describes many super mutants. Not all of them, however. This damage may be a reaction to the virus or to the infection procedure, as the overdose of the virus could be causing the harm, or the not so gentle approach to dunking the people may also lead to the brain damage. As seen with Psychers and the Master, the virus is able to change the brain and its abilities. There were some positives to the forced evolutionary virus infection in these super mutants, however. These mutants had all recessive genes for genetic conditions removed from their DNA. Continuing on the genetics and the cell train for a moment, the super mutants have an increased rate of cellular division, 15% faster than their normal human counterparts. The genetic structure and cellular structure, however, is incredibly similar to the average person. To fully achieve these super mutants, the Master would use a vat to submerge up to 6 people at a time for 24 hours to ensure complete transformation. Now that we know their origins and the virus, we should discuss their anatomy. These super mutants are essentially a larger version of humans that are green. These mutants are more muscular, taller, and masculine. However, they would also have warts on their face from the virus, and in some cases a strap holding up their upper lip. If you look at the VATs for a super mutant, they have all the normal human parts you can aim at: arms, legs, torso, and head. The main differences are the height and the muscle. Super mutants were on average 3.2 meters tall, which is around 10 feet and 6 inches tall. To put that into perspective, the tallest person to ever live was Robert Wadlow, who was 2.72 meters tall, or 8 feet and 11 inches. Super mutants would be the largest human-based creatures, being taller than him. Super mutants would also weigh about 363 kilograms, which is roughly 800 pounds. 77.41% of this was accounted for as muscle mass, 10.23% of this weight is bone mass, 9.34% of this is tissue mass, and the other 3.02% of this is fat mass, according to Vree. Looking at the skin of super mutants, which is tinted green, however, according to Vree, it is tougher and drier than human skin, giving it the ability to resist trauma. However, with this resistance, they are unable to completely heal heavily injured tissues. Considering the fact their purpose is to be soldiers, many would have severe organ damage, organ scarring, and even some organ loss. Going through their anatomy, we should talk about Vree's discovery. Vree is a member of the Brotherhood of Steel. She was able to get a hold of a deceased super mutant that was found in the wasteland. With this specimen, she was able to do a necropsy. With this necropsy, Vree was unable to find any reproductive organs, highlighting their not-so-superiorness of the so-called superior race. However, there is a possibility due to the super mutant being found in the wasteland that it may have been scavenged, so various parts being eaten, leading to the idea that super mutants were infertile. However, this is unlikely as it has carried through the franchise that super mutants are infertile and is mentioned in the Fallout Bibles that they are infertile. There are also potential suggestions that the virus attacked reproductive cells, making them infertile. So who do the super mutants align themselves with? The super mutants originally were not aligned with any group. However, after Richard Grey became the Master, the super mutants would align with him, in part due to his creation of more of them. The Master would perform experiments to make the super mutants smarter and also to make the process more successful. These experiments obviously led to the discovery of radiation exposure being the culprit of unsuccessful transformations. Because of the Master being essentially the metaphorical father of these super mutants in the first game, these humanoid creatures were aligned to the Unity of course being the Master's cult. This is the group that believed the super mutants were the group that were supposed to inherit the Earth. They were the rightful inhabitants of the wasteland. The Master created more super mutants to essentially live out his own truth. Because of this, the super mutants believe in the teachings of Unity. Speaking of the Unity, but also the Children of the Cathedral, there is a special class of super mutants within these groups. These are known as the Nightkin. The term Nightkin comes from the rejection of the light and the embracing of the darkness in which the Children of the Cathedral see everyone as equal. The Master refers to these Nightkin in the same way as he refers to all of his other creations, mutants. The Master, however, is part of the cause of the name, as he is referred to as the Night God by the children of the Cathedral. The Nightkin are handpicked by the Master to be the Angels of the Night, to redeem the world through the bloodshed of those unwilling to convert to the beliefs of the Unity. Nightkin in the first Fallout game were presented by Morpheus as recent super mutant converts to the cause. Due to this, outsiders such as Nicole and others at the Followers of the Apocalypse see them as more of a servant to Morpheus than the elite guard that they were employed to be. The Nightkin in the Cathedral and the Unity were an elite guard and viewed by those less knowledgeable as the militant wing of the Children of the Cathedral, having special equipment including stealth boys, which give them their in-game ghostly appearance. When not in stealth mode, they have their own special uniform, this being the black uniforms or black armor you see in-game. They were the ones that dealt with the removal of the problem people, whether it be spies, failed experiments, or others causing different kinds of problems, such as assassination attempts. Many of those who were members of the Cathedral and the Unity were scared of the Nightkin, in part due to the rumours of their cannibalistic nature. There is much more to talk about when it comes to the Nightkin, including the adverse effects of stealth boy usage. Let us know in the comments if you would like to see a video on the Nightkin. But are there any well-known super mutants from the first game? I am glad you asked. Yes, there is. There is the Lieutenant. The Lieutenant is the commander of the Mariposa military base. He was perceived to be the model super mutant. He was the best out of the batch he was created in. What I mean by this is he was best able to withstand the forced evolutionary virus experiment that he was exposed to. He was the strongest, most intelligent, and most skilled in that group. He also retained most of his traits from pre-forced evolution virus exposure. With this, it inspired a sort of religious awe in the Master, which helped to inspire the idea of unity. Along with this, the Lieutenant would become the most devoted follower of the Master, and one of the biggest supporters of the idea behind the Unity, that the super mutants will inherit the Earth. With his devotion, this led to the Lieutenant getting cybernetic implants and his own personalized equipment. An example of his cybernetic implants is his bionic eye. The Lieutenant is also not like other super mutants in his personality and his behaviors. The Lieutenant, in a sense, is more sophisticated and intelligent than most super mutants in the first game, as we often see in their non-fight animations them literally being towering, butt-scratching soldiers. With the Lieutenant, he discusses things with you before fighting you, which is very different to the other super mutants. He also has higher intelligence than most of the other super mutants you encounter. If you're interested in learning more about the Master's creations, then you should check out this video here. It's about the centaurs and floaters from the first Fallout game.